Greetings, Commanders, this is Pagan Horde, and today I would like to do something a little different. Now please do some YouTube stuff, and let's dive into Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Well, first things first is I have to say and be honest that I've never tried any of the Armored Core series, simply because they were console exclusive. And after that, I've also never tried any of the From Software games, from Elden Ring to Dark Souls to whatever else they've done. For pretty much the same reason. These were controller-driven and console titles mostly that I was just not interested in. So, getting that out of the way, this will be from the point of view of a total noob. But this new game comes fresh out of the oven for PC as well, and it looks pretty good, so let's dive right in. Just remember that I'm a noob at all of this. Alright, let's go. So the first things to note is that, well, the story is not very important. You are dropped straight on the planet as an illegal mercenary, and your first job is to steal an ID. And after that, well, it's corporation versus corporation, there's a liberation front, there's some handler talking to each other. No cinematics at all, just people talking. And it's honestly kind of refreshing. It's your job out there is to go out there and kill things in your mech, and you can just skip everything and the dialogue, and it's not really important. So this feels very old school to me. This feels very much like an arcade game or an old school game where, yeah, we both know the job is for you to get out there and kill things with your mech, so go right ahead. It has almost a cynical approach to it, as the first thing you do, literally, is to steal an ID of a mercenary from a corpse, and there you go, you're now a mercenary. Pat on the back, go to your next mission. And I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the, there you go buddy, have fun, approach. So this mission right there, the one with the mercenary ID, is the one where you confront your first hard boss moment, where you get your little spice of From Software get good moment. So this is where you confront an attack helicopter in an arena, your first big boss. Now, the reason I had so much difficulty with it is that the arena has very little cover, and where you have to learn how to use your movement right there on the fly to avoid most of its attack. And also, the wee bit of artificial difficulty in this fight, I have to say, because you are limited in the arena. However, the attack chopper is not. It can go out of bounds of your arena. So I found myself chasing the chopper, hoping to get a lucky melee attack, only to slam into an invisible wall and just then be blasted apart because I was just hovering there without moving. So that first fight can put off some people, and yes, because it is not just because it is From Software hard, but because there's a wee bit of artificial difficulty added to it. But you should stick with it if you can. So I got my first get good moment, Dark Soul, getting my ass kicked right there, and so I stopped and said, well, what am I doing wrong? And the way I was able to finally defeat it was to stop chasing around and to actually stop trying to dodge behind obstacles that fire. I stayed as much as I can under the helicopter where its missile arc could not reach me easily. And I simply kept being aggressive and staying under its main arc of fire as much as possible. So when the thing ran out of bounds of the arena, instead of trying to dodge behind obstacles which were almost non-existent, it was just running around arcade style and avoiding the hits. So I had to learn the hard way how to maneuver and how to dodge things and how to roll, quote unquote, basically. So this fight right there can put off a bit of people because it is right away From Software spice. And even going through the entire chapter 1, it's still the hardest I've seen thus far. But stick with it, it's gonna be a bit better. And ironically, a lot of the missions and tutorial will appear after this boss. So after this hard boss is where you open the game up to its regular mission, and ironically some of it's tutorial as well as mech building and customization. This is where the game, well, for in all intent and purposes, starts. So after that you are greeted with quite a few story missions, which you can replay at any time to earn more credit and get a rating to how much you perform or how well you perform. This is where you are confronted with the fact that every ammo that you use, every repair that you have to do, costs money and being deduced at the end of your mission for your maximum amount of rewards. So you have to bear that in mind when you customize your mechs, because at one point I made a mech which had all big energy weapon and then had an impressive ammo bill at the end of the mission. So at this point, let's talk a bit about the gameplay of the game. To me, it feels a lot like old school arcade game, almost like top-down scroller, shoot 'em up type of action, because the missions are 2 to 5 minutes, maybe the longest one where you have a big story boss can get closer to 10, but nonetheless, all the missions are right there, very fast-paced, almost like you put a quarter in an arcade machine and start shooting type of move. It also reminds me of what the kids now call boomer shooter, because it asks you to play a dance of managing many different weapons and with different ranges and different powers, with many enemies that have different ranges and different power at the same time, and play this dance of death. It reminds me a bit of Doom Eternal and its approach of trying to juggle all the weapons and all the enemies at the same time. However, contrary to Doom Eternal, where the new weapons are slowly introduced, it dumps you most of it right away. But you do have the ability to replay the missions anytime you want, and also train and use the tutorial training to test out new rigs and weapons. So it throws everything at you right away. And for you to figure out how to play the dance of death of juggling weapons and dodging enemy fire. But I still see a lot of potential in it. I'm only on chapter 1 and this is the first impression, but I can see the potential if you take the time to master the game and master its weapon, how it can be rewarding to suddenly be an efficient dealer of death machine in a mech. Also, for the Battletech people out there, this is very much a Japanese-inspired mech stuff, flying around with energy swords and shooting a gun in each hand. It's very much Japanese-inspired or anime-inspired type of mech. Do not expect big stumpy robot, even if you can actually customize your mech with tank treads. You're still very much in an anime world. So one of the most important aspects of any mech game is the ability to customize your mech, and oh boy is that present here. With the twist, of course, that every change you make will affect how fast you move in this arcade-style Dance of Death. Not just a pretty fancy longer or shorter range weapon, it will completely change how you move inside the game. One of the most important aspects I found is how you customize your legs. You can go reverse jointed, where you can jump higher. You can go tank treads, where you can slide around and drift around the ground like a race car. You can then add 4 legs on your mech, and that will give you the ability to hover in mid-air like almost an helicopter. It truly completely changed how everything works, really. So far in my own experimentation, it is truly how the mech's mobility that makes or break everything. Sure, there's plenty of different weapons, from energy to fast firing to explosion and all that good jazz, but it's the different options and mobility that really have me scratching my head on how do I do this. And I'm sure as the game gets deeper and the mission gets harder, there's going to be bosses and an encounter that works better with different configuration. And that's where the games truly start to shine. You are not locked at all into a playstyle. You completely decide how you want to do this. And personally, that is the part that is the most intriguing to me. and that encouraged me to dive deeper into this game is how can I customize this thing? How can I run a tank with double grenade launcher? Sure, why not? A bit later in the game you will open up tutorial mission as well as small duel against other mechs, which will reward you to upgrade system that you can truly open up even more possibility. For example, if you get an upgrade that will allow you to put hand weapon on weapon mounts on your shoulder. So suddenly you are no longer restricted by having just these type of weapons on the shoulders and these type of weapons in the arm. You can now take the bazooka from your handheld and put it on the shoulder and run around with twin bazookas. Sure, why not? You can now do that, and that's where the game, I think, truly shines. So while the mech customization is what drives me to want to dive deeper into this game, what can be harsh sometimes is the way it teaches, or rather, it doesn't teach you things. When you have to start missions and you encounter something big like a laser that will take half of your health away if you don't spot it and dodge in time, well, the only way to learn how to do it is to restart the level half a dozen times until you actually learn to dodge it. And that can be a bit frustrating. A good example is the mining rig fight, where you go up against a huge mining rig that has a laser on top of its head. And the game doesn't really explain it to you until you see the big blue thing starting to come at your face and blam, half of your health is gone. Well, shit. Learns to dodge, boy. So it can be a bit of a harsh teacher. Which is, I get it, how these games are played. But maybe it's just me getting old, but being blasted by an artillery piece 5 seconds into a mission, or having to learn a platforming segment while falling to your death all the time, it just doesn't have the same appeal, you know? So in conclusion, what are my first impressions of Armored Core 6? That it is a great arcade game. This is a drop a quarter and dive in, don't think too much, and in that place it really shines. The ability thus far to customize is the thing that drives me to dive deeper into the game, because I'm really curious about all the weapons that can be unlocked, all the customization, trying out new type of legs, mobility and movement. That's what driving me forward. It can be, however, a bit of a harsh mistress. Maybe that's my personal taste, that it's more console-like platforming and dodging is not really my thing. But I'm going to persevere because I'm curious about all the mechs. So first impressions, it's really good at what it does. It's really good. But it's not for everyone. This is an arcade action, very fast moving game through and through. But I intend to stick with it, dive deeper into the mech customization, and maybe go see how big those bosses can get. So thank you for watching until the end. Please do some YouTube stuff, and I will see you next time in the cockpit of hopefully something very weird. Goodbye.